Okay, this is a recording of the mock-up exam that you all tried on Thursday in class. The first thing that you need to do is to right-click on the text file and save it to the hard disk. Same thing for the database. And then you will need to open Access like we have here, and then open the database from there. You will have to enable content, and the first question asks you to save it as your last name underscore first name. So you'll hit on File, Save Database As. And now you see the three tables: contract, invoice, and customer. You are asked to open the customer table. As I said in the previous review, the best thing for you is really to open all the tables, get a view of the design for them, and then answer the questions on the test. So we'll open contract and go to the design. And you can see you have a contract number, a customer ID, a contract amount, a signing date. So we have contracts in there. Open customers. And again, you have a set of fields and invoice. We have an invoice number and so on. So it asks you to open the customer number first. So go to the customer table first, and asks to choose a primary key. We said that a primary key is one of the fields. Remember that there is no way that you can assign a primary key in the data sheet view. When you open a table, it opens at in a view where you see data. There is no way that you can assign a primary key in this view. You have to go to the design view. And from our discussion, a primary key is a field that has to be unique. So from our experience, we know a customer ID is unique for every customer, so we'll highlight that and choose primary key, and we'll save. The next one is contract, and again a contract number is unique. And then the invoice, and again invoice number is unique. You need to save each one. And then close all of the tables. They ask you to open the customer table and to type in actual two records. So go ahead and open customer, and the first record is a customer ID, and it has 11001. There is no company name, so just leave the company name. The first name is Sharon. The last name is Maloney. Phone number is 616-856-3901. You have a city, Rockford. First, I actually took 49 Blackstone Drive is the address. state is Missouri, and the zip is 49341. And then the email is smaloney @gmail.com. Then you go and add the second customer. The second customer is 11002 11012. The company is Grand Rapids Engineering Department. First name is Anthony. Last name Rodriguez. You can tell I don't type. Phone number is 616 454 9801. It's address 225 Summer Street. Grand Rapids. Missouri. Four 9503, and it's a Rod 24 at again, you can use just like gmail.com. So that's how we enter information inside of a table. It says now import the data in the customer text file and append them to the customer table. So we'll have to save that customer table and we close it. And to import, that's external data, so we'll have to go to the external data, and it is a text file, so we'll click on text file. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this step and I'll do it again. As we said, we're trying to import the text file into the customer table. So since this is data outside of the database, we'll click on the external data tab and we'll click on the text file. And it asks us, where is your text file? So we'll browse and find out where we store it. And it says, do you want to import it into a new table? No, we want to append the records into the customer table. So we'll choose the customer table and hit OK. And it shows you that these are the files, these are the records inside of the text file. So hit Next. It will start parsing them, dividing them into columns because of the comma, because each of these values is separated by comma. hit next, and it says, okay, you want to import it into the customer table, and we hit finish and close. And now when we open the customer table, I should see 40 records. Instead of the 2 records that I've entered, there are 40 records. There is the first one, the 11001 and the 11012 that we have added, but then there are several other records that are in there. Okay, so now I'm gonna save and close. And the next question is to define the relationship between the tables. So we know that relationship is under the database tools. We'll click under database tools and choose relationships. And you need to click on the show table to be able to add the tables to the window. You double click on each one. And we need to think a little bit about what relationship to create. We know that to create relationships between tables, we need to have a common attribute. So by looking at any two, for example, customer and contract, I see that a customer has a customer ID and the contract has also a customer ID. So these two can be connected. And looking now at invoice and contract, again, there is a contract number that is common. So I understand now that there is a relationship between a customer and a contract. So a customer may have one or many contracts, and that a contract may also have several invoices, and that's normal in business. You sign a contract with a customer, and then there are several orders related to that contract, and every time you deliver an order, there is an invoice attached to it. So now let's establish the relationship between the 3 tables. We will drag customer ID from the customer table. Remember, it is important. We understand that customer ID is common between the customer table and the contract table. But where shall I drag it from? And the answer will always be drag it from where it is primary key. So I see the key beside customer ID in the customer table. I'm going to take the customer ID from the customer table, put it on top of the customer ID in the contract table. I will enforce referential integrity, cascade update, and cascade delete. And if you remember what we have said, we said that in order for you to make sure that there is consistency inside of the database, you need to enforce referential integrity. I will not create a contract unless I already have created a customer. If I delete a customer, I will delete all of their contracts, and so on. So we'll click on create, and that creates that link between customer and contract with a one-to-many relationship. And this reads, one customer has multiple contracts, but any particular contract is only tied to one customer. Now looking at contract and invoice, again they have one common attribute, and that's the contract number. So I'm going to take contract number from the contract table, put it on top of the contract number in the invoice table, enforce referential integrity, cascade update, and cascade delete, and create. And again, a link is created between the two, saying that a contract may have multiple invoices, but any one invoice is tied to one contract. I'm going to save that, and I will close the relationship. Question number 8 asks you to create a query that displays the customer first name, last name, city, contract signing date, contract type, for contract amount less than 10,000, or signing date between January 1st and March 1st. So I know that I need to create a query, so I'll click on the Create tab. I will click on Query Design, and I need to add the customer table and the contract table. And I close the Show Table window, And now I need to look closely. I need to read closely what is it that they want me to display, and they say customer first name. So that's the very first field that I will double click on. And then I have last name, the city, contract signing date, and contract amount, actually there is contract type first, so I'm gonna drag contract type on top of contract amount, and that will move contract amount to the right. So contract type first and then contract amount, and they say for contract amounts less than 10,000. So that's a criteria. I know when they specify something, contract amount less than 10,000, that's a criteria. So which means that I have to enter something in the row that says criteria. It is criteria for what field, and you need to ask yourself, which field shall I write the criteria under? And it is for the amount, so I have to move my cursor under amount, and it says less than 10,000. So less than 10,000, or the signing date between January 1st and March 1st. So because they said or, I have to move to the new line, that's the or line. And again, it is a criteria for the signing date, so I'll move under signing date. It doesn't like the comma that we entered here, so it's just 10,000 with no commas. And the signing date, as we said, is under the or, is in the or row, and it is between January 1st, that's 01/01/2011, and March 1st, that's 03/01/2011. And now let's run the query. And I have a list of customers, the signing date, the contract type, and a contract amount. And as you can see, majority of the contracts are less than 10,000. Let's see the 20,000. Is it between January 1st and March 1st? Yes, that's January 11. The 38 is February. The 15 is again February. So nothing that is above 10,000 is between dates after March or before January. So everything is fine. It asks you to save the query as small amounts or winter signing. So go ahead and click save, and save it as small amounts or winter signing. They want you to change the alternate background color of the rows in the query data sheet to orange. So you can see that one of the icons at the top, when they ask you to do something to the report itself, it should be on the menu at the top. It should be at the menu at the top of the report, not at the design. So you want to use the orange as the alternate color. Choose the orange color. And now you can see that the whole report now has orange, white, orange, white. They want you to sort the query from oldest to newest signing dates. So under the signing date, there is an arrow. Click on it. And choose the sort oldest to newest. And now you see that the 2010 appears before the 2011. So let's save and close. Now we want to create a new query. So again, under the Create tab, I'm going to click on Query Design. It says display the customer first name, last name, city. So I need the customer table. And then invoice amount. So I know I have to enter invoice, but when I enter these two tables, there is no link in between them. So irrespective of what I'm asking you, you have to add the third one. You have to add contract, because as we said several times, I cannot run a query with the tables not connected. The whole idea behind relationships is that you establish relationship in order to be able to run reports, to create queries, to answer questions. So the tables must be linked. So now we will choose the fields. It is customer first name, the last name, the city, the invoice amount, for invoices that are not paid. And now I ask myself, now which field do you think will have whether they have paid the invoice or not? And I look at my fields, it's probably the field that's titled invoice paid. They want you to add a so let's answer this question. Let's run first the query before putting any criteria. And I look at it, and invoice paid is a yes or no. How do I know? Because the content of the field is just a check or no check. A check means yes, a no check means no. So going back to the design, they want not paid, so invoice paid, the value, the criteria should be no, that they have not paid the invoice. And now let's run it. And now all of the customers that are listed have unchecked invoice paid, which means they have not paid their invoice. I need now to add a calculated field that will add 3% of the invoice amount. I'm going to add a late fee for them. So remember that when you are adding a calculated field, you have to save the query first. Otherwise, you will not be able to add the calculated field. So the first thing that I'm going to do is save the query. And it is, they want you to save it as late fee. And hit OK. So now, to create a calculated field, you need to move to a new column and then click on Builder. And the late fee is 3% of the invoice amount. So you double click on invoice amount. 3% is 0.03. 0.03. So you need to multiply the invoice amount by 0.03. And hit enter and OK. So now you have a new field that's called expression 1. I don't want to call it expression 1, so I'm going to highlight expression 1, and I will type in instead of that late fees. And now I will run, and now I have a new field that says late fees, and it has an actual value. So Lansing has $300 to pay as a late fee. James has $450, and so on. So let's save the query and close. The last query, they ask you to create a statistics query, one that shows the minimum, the average, and maximum contract amount. So that means I need to add only the contract table. But then they say sorted by city, and city is not inside of the contract, it's inside of the customer table. So you have to add the second one, the customer table, because they want it sorted by city. Usually when you have a query that shows for each city what's the minimum, what's the average, and what's the maximum, the first column should be city. So you show the city, and then you show the statistics for that city. So we want to add contract amount 3 times, because we are going to add it to show the minimum, to show the maximum, and to show the average. And last time I asked you, and I said, which icon should we click on in order to find the minimum, maximum, and average? And we all agreed it is the totals at the top. So I'm going to click on it, and I see that there is a new row being added, the group by, and I click on contract amount, the first contract amount, and I drop down the menu, and I can choose minimum, and for the second one I'll choose average, and for the last one I'm going to choose maximum. If I run the query, I will see that for every city there is a minimum, there is an average, there is a maximum. They want me to sort by city, so I'll go back to the design and I'll make sure that I sort by city in ascending order. And now they want me to rename the columns. They don't want min of contract amount, average. They want you to call them lowest contract amount, average contract amount, and highest contract amount. And we said to do that, you need to show the properties. So you highlight a column, you right click, and you choose properties, and that opens a window on the right. So for each one, you are going to change the caption. That's how you change the title of a column, the caption. So lowest contract amount, the second one is average contract amount, and the last one is the highest contract amount. Okay, now when I run it, everything looks fine, exactly how they asked you to do it. Only thing maybe is you want to adjust the size of the columns so that it shows the whole title. And now save the query as contract statistics. Now we're left with the last 2 questions on the back of the sheet. Create the form showing a customer first name, last name, city, state, contract number, contract amount, and signing date. So I'm going to save this and close. And I want to create a form, so I'm going to click on Form Wizard. The reason for choosing Form Wizard is that they are specifying what fields you need to include on the form. So I'll go with Form Wizard, and from the customer table I will add customer ID, the company, the first name, the last name, the city, so they don't want the phone or address, they want the city, and the state. And then the rest is coming from the contract table, so I'm going to click on contract, and now I have a contract number, a contract amount, and a signing date. And I hit next. It tells me, do you want the customer information first and then the contract? And that's exactly how they ask you to do it. Data sheet is fine. So now when they ask me about the title, I see that here it says customers and contracts. So I need to change the top form to customers and contracts. And the lower one should say only contract, no subform. So remove that word subform and hit finish. And I have the view for the same view that they asked you to create. They want you to save it as customer and contracts, so it's already been actually saved for you. So here is it. So just like for, and it's not a bad practice to save every now and then, so you make sure you're not losing whatever steps you make. The last is the report. So again, I'm going to click and choose Report Wizard. And they want, again, exactly same thing, but in a report format. So I need a customer ID. There is no company this time. It's the first name, last name, and city. So it's a bit different actually. And then you go and from the contract table, you are going to choose the contract number, the contract amount, and the signing date. You are going to sort by contract number if you have multiple contracts. And remember that view is the outline view, but I will usually tell you, but if I don't, that view is the outline view. The title again is Customer Contracts. And now I have my report exactly like they asked me. So that's all for the review for your access. For 304, there will be additional review that I will post this afternoon.